Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host with another marvelous video. Welcome fellow mutants and Marvel enthusiasts to a spine-tingling journey through the extraordinary world of superhuman strength and colossal power. In a universe where genetic anomalies reign supreme, it's time to delve deep into the awe-inspiring realm of the 15 most physically dominating and powerful mutants. Get ready to meet giants whose brute strength could bench press a skyscraper without breaking a sweat. These mutants don't tiptoe through life. They stomp, smash, and shake the very foundations of reality. Whether they're protecting the world, wreaking havoc, or just trying to navigate the everyday challenges of mutant life, these powerhouses are guaranteed to leave you wide-eyed and slack-jawed. So, fasten your seatbelts, if you can find one strong enough, because we're about to take a jaw-dropping, bone-crushing and, dare I say, supersized journey into the realm of the 15 most physically dominating and powerful mutants. Let's get ready to rumble! Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Beast. Ladies and gentlemen, mutants and non-mutants alike, allow me to introduce you to the one and only Beast, the furriest genius in the Marvel Universe. Dr. Hank McCoy, with his boundless intellect and some truly wild mutations, is the superhero who proves that brains and brawn can go hand in paw. Born with an enhanced physique and an impressive musculature, Hank McCoy quickly became known as Beast. But that was just the beginning of his extraordinary journey. Working at the Brand Corporation, he developed a serum that, rather inadvertently, turned him into a blue-furred, fang-touting and claw-brandishing creature. Talk about a furry makeover. Now let us dive into the meat, or should I say mutant, of the matter, the powers of Beast. First on the list is his superhuman strength. As a teen, he could lift about a ton, which is already impressive. But once he transformed into his blue simian form, his strength skyrocketed to roughly 10 tons. He can punch through brick walls with ease, toss cars around like toys, and even tie an iron barbell into a knot for fun. And that's just his warm-up routine. But Beast is not just about strength, he's got the need for speed, too. He can run at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour, particularly if he's on all fours. Imagine racing against a blue-furred beast on a track. It'd be a sprinter's nightmare. When it comes to stamina, Beast is a champ. His body produces fewer fatigue toxins during physical activity than a regular human's, allowing him to keep up the fight for hours on end. Plus, he doesn't need a full night's sleep, thanks to his unique physiology. Talk about making the most of the day. Now, let's talk durability. Beast's body can withstand tremendous impact forces, and he can take a beating from superhuman beings without flinching. Bladed weapons and conventional firearms are child's play for him, although he's not completely invulnerable. With agility and reflexes that would put an Olympic gymnast to shame, Beast can perform acrobatic stunts that defy gravity. He can walk on tight ropes, balance on his hands for hours, and execute flips and rolls that would make Spider-Man proud. Beast's senses are as sharp as his claws. He can see and hear things that are beyond human perception, even in near total darkness. His sense of smell is so keen that he can track someone purely by scent over open terrain. Plus, his fur allows him to detect electronic signals through solid walls and floors. Talk about a furry superpower. And let's not forget his regenerative healing factor, which makes him a quick healer. He can recover from minor injuries within hours and mend broken bones in a matter of days. But it's not all sunshine and roses for Beast. He has his share of weaknesses too, like his animal instincts and vulnerability to sensory overload. Despite it all, Hank McCoy stands tall as a mutant hero, a genius, and a truly remarkable member of the X-Men. So, whether he's conducting groundbreaking experiments or saving the world, Beast reminds us that even the most extraordinary beings can have a heart as big as their superhuman abilities.
Oh, get him, Tiger! Big CGI fight coming up!
Colossus. Colossus, the Russian bear of the X-Men. A man whose strength could probably put a bull to shame. And yes, I mean the actual bull, not the metaphorical one. But before we get into the meaty details of his powers and exploits, let's take a stroll through the snow-covered fields of his origin story. Pyotr Rasputin, born into the simplicity of a Russian farm life, was content as an artist. The world was his canvas, and the colors of his life painted a tranquil picture. That was until good old Professor Charles Xavier came knocking on his door offering a chance to change the world. And like any good superhero origin story, Piotr seized the chance with both hands, which happened to turn into organic steel thanks to his mutant powers. Yep, you heard that right. Colossus can transform his entire body into an organic steel substance, and he does it with style. His transformation is virtually instantaneous, and it's like watching a living statue come to life. If you've ever wondered what it'd be like to have skin that is as tough as osmium and carbon steel, well, Colossus can show you. Now, let's talk about his physical prowess. Colossus possesses superhuman strength that would put most weightlifters to shame. As a teenager, he could lift about 70 tons. But as he matured into adulthood, his strength grew to a jaw-dropping 100-ton level. Just to put that in perspective, that's like lifting a herd of elephants without breaking a sweat. He's even gone toe-to-toe with the mighty Juggernaut and held his ground, which is no small feat, pun intended. But Colossus is more than just a strongman. He's got the stamina to match. In his armored form, he produces fewer fatigue toxins than a regular human, which means he can keep up the fight for days without getting tired. Plus, he doesn't need to breathe while transformed, which must come in handy when he's battling supervillains in the vacuum of space, as one does. Now, when we talk about durability, Colossus takes the cake. In his armored form, he can withstand just about anything you throw at him. Bullets bounce off him like rubber balls, and he can survive temperatures that would melt steel. Explosions, collisions, you name it, he shrugs it off like a champ. Plus, he's rust-resistant, which means you won't find him covered in unsightly orange spots, even after a rainy day. But there's more to Colossus than meets the eye. He's not just a metal-clad brute. He's a man of many talents. He's a skilled hand-to-hand combatant, thanks to training from the likes of Wolverine. He's also an artist, a fluent speaker of both Russian and English, and even a farmer. Yeah, you heard that correctly, a mutant farmer. However, like all superheroes, Colossus has his weaknesses. He can be vulnerable to certain materials like vibranium, and anything made from or bonded with adamantium can also give him a run for his money. So, catching him off guard might just do the trick. In the end, Colossus is a superhero with a heart as strong as his steel-clad exterior. Whether he's farming, painting, or saving the world, he's a mutant you'd want on your side when the going gets tough. Magneto. Magneto, the master of magnetism and one of the most magnetic personalities in the Marvel Universe. But before we dive into his powers, let's take a moment to appreciate the man behind the magnetic madness. Eric Magnus Lenscher, or Magneto as he's more famously known, had a rough start in life. He endured the horrors of Auschwitz during World War II, which is about as grim a backstory as one can get. But from the ashes of tragedy, Magneto rose as a mutant with a singularly impressive ability, the power to manipulate all forms of magnetism. With this magnetic mastery, he can control metal like it's putty in his hands. Whether he's gently levitating a paperclip or casually rearranging the Golden Gate Bridge, Magneto makes it look easy. Need to disarm your enemies? He'll strip the weapons right out of their hands faster than you can say fridge magnet. But his powers go far beyond mere metal manipulation. He can create magnetic force fields, which make him practically invulnerable to attacks. It's like he's walking around in an invisible bubble that says, sorry folks, the villain is not available for your heroics today. And don't think for a second that he's just a one-trick pony. Magneto can shoot powerful magnetic rays and electromagnetic pulses. He's been known to take down foes like Storm with a single blast. Iron Man? Yeah, he's one-shot him too. Oh, and let's not forget the time he casually destroyed a mountain, just for fun. Here's the real kicker. Magneto's control over magnetism extends to the entire electromagnetic spectrum. We're talking about manipulating everything from visible light to gamma rays. He can project bolts of electricity, create intense heat, and even turn himself invisible by bending light around his magnetic field. Talk about multitasking. And if you ever find yourself in a jam, Magneto can open wormholes to travel instantly across vast distances. It's like having your own personal teleporter, except cooler because it involves magnetic fields. But it's not all fun and magnetic games. Magneto is also a genius scientist, dabbling in genetic engineering, mutation, and all things scientific. He's designed everything from magnetically powered aircraft to space stations, proving that he's not just a villain, but also a bit of a tech geek. Now, for the weaknesses. Magneto might be powerful, but he's not invincible. His physical condition can affect the effectiveness of his powers, especially if he's injured or fatigued. Plus, he's prone to headaches because, well, manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe can be a real headache, I suppose. So, there you have it. Magneto, the master manipulator of all things magnetic, a complex character with a dark past, a brilliant mind, and powers that could make even Tony Stark jealous. Just remember, when facing Magneto, bring your non-metallic weapons, a strong will, and maybe a bottle of aspirin. Apocalypse. Haha! Apocalypse. The OG mutant with a penchant for causing some serious cosmic chaos. Let's take a moment to delve into the life and powers of this ancient menace. Born as En Sabar Nur, which roughly translates to the Seven Lights, he was quite the misunderstood baby. His appearance was so monstrous that his parents abandoned him at birth. Talk about a tough start to life. Fortunately, he was raised by a ruthless nomadic warrior who probably saw some potential in the little guy. Fast forward a few years and Apocalypse hasn't only escaped slavery but has conquered all that dared to stand in his way. He's like the ultimate overachiever, isn't he? And he didn't just stop there. He embraced the philosophy of mutant supremacy with a dash of survival of the fittest and decided to rule the world. Humble beginnings, indeed. But Apocalypse's story takes an even crazier turn when he gets recruited by the Celestials. They decided to amp up his powers by enhancing his body with a mix of organic and celestial technology, turning him into a bona fide super mutant. Think of it as an extreme makeover, but instead of getting a new hairstyle, you become an all-powerful harbinger of doom. Over the centuries, Apocalypse became the stuff of legends, worshipped as a god by various cultures worldwide. He ruled with an iron fist and had a little group called the Horsemen of Apocalypse to help enforce his rule. This guy had style. What makes Apocalypse truly terrifying is his immortality. Even before the celestial upgrade, he lived for thousands of years. And he can't be permanently killed. No, not even a little bit. If you somehow manage to put him out of commission, he'll just resurrect himself in various unique ways thanks to his external status. Now, onto his powers. Apocalypse is a mutant with a seriously impressive toolkit. He can manipulate his atomic structure, transform his body into pretty much anything he wants, machinery, weapons, you name it, and regenerate from a single drop of blood. He can even change his size at will. Want to pick a fight with the Hulk or a young Thor? Yeah, no problem for Apocalypse. But wait, there's more. He's telekinetic, can fly, and has telepathic abilities that would give Jean Grey a run for her money. He can also manipulate technology and machinery with ease. Plus, he's got some serious energy manipulation skills. Capable of creating force fields, projecting energy blasts, and absorbing energy from outside sources. Magic? Yeah, he dabbles in that too, because, why not? And if all else fails, Apocalypse can teleport himself and others around the planet with a thought. It's like having your own cosmic Uber service, but with more world conquering on the side. In the intelligence department, Apocalypse is no slouch. He's a super genius with knowledge in genetic engineering, mutation, and technology that makes Tony Stark look like a kid with a chemistry set. So, there you have it, Apocalypse. The mutant that's been causing mayhem for millennia, with powers that could make even the Avengers think twice. Just remember, when Apocalypse is involved, it's not a matter of if the world will be in peril, but when and how stylishly he'll attempt to conquer it. Onslaught. Onslaught, the unholy love child of Professor Charles Xavier and Magneto. A mutant mashup that put even the Avengers family reunions to shame. Strap in as we unravel the twisted tale of this cerebral menace and his wild reality-bending powers. So, let's picture this. A typical day in the Marvel Universe, the X-Men are throwing down with Magneto's acolytes. Wolverine, the guy whose claws make Freddy Krueger rethink his career choices, decides to give Magneto a manicure with his adamantium talons. Magneto's response? He goes full DIY and trips the adamantium right out of Wolverine's bones like a kid tearing apart a shiny action figure. Ouch, doesn't even begin to cover it. Wolverine's healing factor threw in the towel. Now, Professor X had been playing the role of Magneto's eternal babysitter, but this stunt was the last straw. Xavier uses his telepathic mojo to turn Magneto's brain into a vegetable. But hold on to your helmets, folks. Here's the twist. During this psychic brawl, Magneto's rage, grief, and thirst for payback mixed with Xavier's decades of negativity, and bam! Onslaught is born. A personality that makes the Incredible Hulk look like a Zen master. At first, Onslaught just hangs out in Xavier's mind, taking up psychic space. But as the world becomes a mutant hostile mess with mutant viruses and whatnot, Onslaught's frustration grows faster than an angry Hulk. The breaking point? Anti-mutant humans killing a mutant kid near Xavier's swanky pad, the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning. That is when Onslaught decides it's time to stretch his psychic legs and stir up some trouble. He starts by messing with Sentinel bases, downloading their secrets and playing mind games with the staff. But things get real when he takes control of Xavier's mind and body and even tries to turn the X-Men into his mutant minions. Spoiler alert, the X-Men aren't signing up for that fan club. So, he shows his face and unleashes his powers on them, making it a party to remember. And if you thought that was wild, Onslaught takes things up a notch by creating a mini-me psionic version of Charles Xavier to win over young Franklin Richards, who can mess with reality like it's Play-Doh. He kidnaps Franklin, controls X-Man, and cooks up a plan to turn humanity into a giant psychic party. He even reprogrammed Sentinels to play babysitter around Manhattan, turning it into a mutant playground. This leads to an epic throwdown between X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Avengers vs. Onslaught. Trust me, it's as messy as trying to eat spaghetti in a windstorm. They finally separate Onslaught from Xavier, but he goes full-on energy ghost mode, making him tougher to kill than a rumor in a high school. But wait, there's more! Thor, the god of thunder, decides he's had enough of this psychic drama and flies right into Onslaught. Realizing he can't do it alone, non-mutant heroes like the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and even the Hulk, lest Bruce Banner reluctantly join the party. Together, they do a number on Onslaught, tearing him to shreds like he's yesterday's newspaper. Here's the kicker though. The heroes don't actually croak. They get a one-way ticket to a pocket universe thanks to Franklin Richards. Eventually, they make their way back to reality with fuzzy memories of their vacation in the pocket dimension. Now, let's talk superpowers. Onslaught is basically the mutant Swiss Army knife, wielding the telepathy of Professor X, the magnetism of Magneto, and adding Franklin Richards and Nate Gray's powers to the mix. He can rearrange matter and energy like a kid with building blocks on a cosmic scale. His telepathic skills would make even the Jedi Council jealous, reading minds, projecting thoughts, creating illusions, controlling brains, and even giving folks a case of amnesia. His telekinetic powers? Off the charts. He could move stuff down to the atomic level, throw up force fields, and shoot energy blasts like he's auditioning for a sci-fi movie. Oh, and he could control magnetic fields, metal, and basically do everything Magneto does, but with the volume cranked to 11. He's like a one-man reality TV show, warping reality, creating pocket universes, and even playing with stars like they're glow-in-the-dark marbles. Did I mention he could lift over 100 tons like it's no biggie? And the cherry on top, he's got an armor that's tougher than Grandma's rhubarb pie. Only the Hulk, in a rare moment of clarity, managed to put a dent in it. Plus, he could munch on mutants and steal their powers, making him a buffet of super abilities. Oh, and good luck trying to get into his head. His armor makes him as impenetrable as a bank vault. In a nutshell, Onslaught is the telepathic, telekinetic, magnetic, reality-bending juggernaut with an ego that could give Thanos a run for his money. His powers, limited only by his imagination, which, let's be honest, was bigger than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But hey, when you mix Xavier's smarts with Magneto's magnetism and a dash of reality-warping pizzazz, you get the mutant equivalent of a superhero power smoothie. Victor Creed, aka Sabertooth. Sabertooth, the Wolverine's furry frenemy, and all-around purveyor of chaos. This guy's got a past so twisted it makes a pretzel look like a straight line. But let's start at the beginning of this wild ride. Victor Creed, that is Sabertooth's birth name, wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon in his mouth. In fact, he had more of a hankering for human flesh than fine dining. His mutation showed up early, and when it did, things went south faster than a snowbird in a blizzard. So now imagine this. Young Victor, all innocence and mischief, decides to indulge in a piece of pie. Harmless, right? Wrong. He ended up tearing his brother to shreds over that dessert. Talk about sibling rivalry taken to a whole new level. Now, his old man didn't take kindly to his kids becoming cannibals, so he decided on an unconventional punishment. He chained Victor up in the family cellar and started yanking out his teeth, one by one. That's right, the old man tried to exorcise the devil out of him, tooth by tooth. Victor wasn't one to stay chained up though. Determination or sheer madness, take your pick, led him to chew his own hand off and escape. In the process, he repaid dear old dad with a gruesome death. Family, well, love knows no bounds, especially when it comes to survival. And if you thought that was the end of Victor's twisted tale, think again. He went on a rampage across 3 Canadian provinces, casually taking down at least 3 police officers. It's like he had a kick me sign taped to his back for law enforcement. Fast forward a bit, and Victor is working on a railroad in Canada, laying tracks like any good mutant. One day, he had a little tiff with a fellow worker who thought picking on a teenage Victor was a splendid idea. Spoiler alert, it was not. In a move that could only be described as viciously efficient, Victor gutted the guy from crotch to Adam's apple. Consider that a lesson in why you shouldn't mess with someone who can turn you into a human can opener. Now, let's talk about Victor's favorite pastime, messing with Wolverine. See, Victor got wind that his brother had met his demise at the claws of Logan, aka Wolverine. So he did what any self-respecting furball with a penchant for vengeance would do. He hunted down Logan like a dog. In a rather unfortunate turn of events, Victor found Logan unconscious at a crime scene. Instead of letting the police deal with this sleeping beauty, he decided to take matters into his own hands. Victor handed Logan over to some questionable folks who decided it was a good idea to lobotomize him and chop off his arm. You know, just a typical Tuesday in the mutant world. But Logan, being the resilient chap he is, woke up from his little nap and started regenerating. He fought back, and in the process, things got even messier. There was a werewolf, a rampaging mutant, and lots of blood. Long story short, Victor got the short end of the stick. And then there's Silver Fox, Logan's lover. Victor, in a mood befitting his charming personality, decided to brutally assault her. It's all fun and games until someone loses an arm, and in this case, it was Victor who had to part with a limb. But no worries, his healing factor patched that right up. Talk about handy. Or should I say, cloy. Sabertooth, as Victor Creed likes to call himself now, is like Wolverine's evil twin, but with even less charm and a lot more fur. He's got regenerative powers that make him a real pain to take down, superhuman senses that give him the upper hand in a fight, and a mean streak a mile wide. So, if you ever find yourself face to face with Sabertooth, just remember to stay out of arm's reach, keep your pie to yourself, and hope you're not on his birthday list. Because with this guy, every day is a blood-soaked celebration. Strong Guy, aka Guido Carosella. Guido Carosella, or as his mutant codename goes, Strong Guy, is proof that even the quirkiest of mutations can lead to a life of superhero antics. His origin story is like a comedy of errors mixed with a dash of cosmic calamity. Guido was not your average mutant kid growing up. His family pinched pennies like they were going out of style, trying to teach him the value of frugality. But Guido, being the free spirit he was, had other plans. He preferred goofing around to saving for a rainy day. Academically gifted, Guido had the brains but not the cool factor with the other kids, so he took the path of the class clown, all in the hopes of catching the eye of a young lady named Sheila McCann. One wink from her and Guido was hooked, hoping to start a conversation. Unfortunately, Sheila's boyfriend and his buddies decided to teach Guido a lesson in humility by beating him to a pulp. As if that wasn't bad enough, Guido's mutant genes decided it was the perfect time to kick in. In a moment of pain and confusion, Guido's arm grew to enormous proportions thanks to his new energy absorption powers. Now, if you've ever tried to have a casual chat with someone while your arm is doubling as a python, you'd know that it doesn't usually end well. To add insult to injury, Guido, in his altered state, stumbled right into the path of a school bus. The resulting collision didn't exactly do wonders for his looks. From that day forward, his body was distorted, and he discovered that he needed to release the energy he absorbed immediately to avoid looking like a mutant Picasso painting. As if life couldn't get any crazier, Guido's parents met their untimely end when a satellite decided to play a game of cosmic pinball and crush them. But hey, at least they negotiated a sweet settlement with the satellite's owners before meeting their cosmic fate. Guido then moved in with his aunt and uncle, counting down the days until adulthood and hopefully a bit more normalcy. But oh boy, was he in for a surprise. Fast forward a bit, and Guido found himself working as a roadie and bouncer for none other than the mutant musician Lila Cheney. Roadie life might sound cool, but it's not all backstage passes and groupies. Guido had his fair share of brawls, including a memorable showdown with Rogue, where he took a serious beating. It's all in a day's work for a mutant with a knack for attracting trouble. But Guido's real journey began when he joined the mutant superhero team known as X Factor. His teammates included Havoc, Polaris, Wolfsbane, and Quicksilver. It was during his time with X Factor that Guido adopted the codename Strong Guy. After all, why be plain old Guido when you can be a strong guy, right? The team faced off against all sorts of baddies, including the likes of Mr. Sinister and his nasty boys. Sinister had a knack for making life complicated for mutants, and he used X Factor to do just that. Guido found himself caught up in political chaos, manipulated into a fight that ended with the Washington Monument getting a not-so-friendly makeover. In the midst of all this superheroing, Guido managed to find love, or at least something close to it, with a Genosian mutant named Jo Beth. He even visited her grandmother's suburban home on Genosha, and things seemed to be going well. Romance in the world of mutants. Never a dull moment. But Guido's adventures didn't stop there. He joined in on the cosmic events known as the Infinity War and Infinity Crusade. When you're dealing with cosmic powers and doppelgangers, you know you're in for a wild ride. Guido held his own against Drax the Destroyer and even battled Spider-Man, proving that he's not just about big muscles, he's got brains and brawn. However, Guido's life took a dark turn when he fell into a deep depression after being poisoned by Cyber, the leader of the Hell's Bells mercenary group. It's tough to keep your spirits up when you're dealing with a supervillain-induced poisoning, but don't worry, he had friends like Havoc to lend a helping hand and, in this case, a bit of deception to boost his morale. Guido's journey took him to some strange places, like being teleported naked from a shower by his old friend Lila Cheney, who wanted to show him the universe. But even the universe couldn't keep Guido away from his mutant family in X Factor. After leaving the team, Guido found himself in Madripoor, trapped in a standoff between Lila and a bunch of alien beings called the Kalanti. Let's just say it involved stolen objects, explosive confrontations, and heart attacks. You know, typical superhero stuff. Despite all the ups and downs, Guido's sense of humor and charm never faded. He remained a beloved member of the mutant community, proving that even with his quirky mutation and cosmic mishaps, he could still be a strong guy. Now, as for his powers, Guido has the unique ability to absorb kinetic energy and use it to enhance his physical strength. He's like a walking battery that can go from lifting a mere 50 tons to hoisting well over 100 tons when he channels that stored energy. The catch? He can't hold on to that energy for too long, or he risks distorting his body even more. His strength isn't the only thing enhanced. His durability is off the charts. Guido's tissues are tough as they come, making him a formidable force on the battlefield. But there's a price to pay for all that power. Guido has a bad heart thanks to the strain of absorbing and releasing kinetic energy. Overload it, and he's in big trouble. Plus, he's nearsighted and relies on thick glasses to see clearly. In the end, Guido Carosella, the lovable strong guy, is a mutant with a heart as big as his muscles and a sense of humor that can light up even the darkest of superhero showdowns. So, if you ever find yourself in need of a laugh or some serious muscle power, just look for the guy with the distorted body and the grin that never quits. Omega Red. Omega Red, the mutant menace with a name that sounds like a supervillain you'd meet in a wrestling ring. But this guy isn't just all show and no substance. He's got a backstory that's as twisted as a pretzel. Arkady Grigorovich Rossovich. That's the mouthful of a name Omega Red had before he became the crimson-skinned nightmare we know today. But let's rewind to the early days when he was just a Russian mutant with a penchant for violence. Before his mutation kicked in, Arkady was already a cause for concern. He had a thing for mutilating animals and making beggars disappear. Yep, not your average neighborhood kid. Even his family, including his brother Vasily, found him unsettling. You know, you're dealing with a real problem child when mutilating animals is just the warm-up act. Things took a turn for the worse when Arkady joined the Russian army and became a part of the GRU Spetsnaz. While in the army, he continued his criminal activities, including some truly horrifying acts against young children. Kidnapping, rape, and murder were all on his gruesome checklist. It's no surprise that the guy didn't exactly win Soldier of the Year awards. Arkady's descent into darkness reached its peak when he was stationed at a Soviet outpost near the Antarctic Circle. The disappearance and deaths of several children finally caught the attention of the other Russian soldiers. When they discovered the heinous crimes Arkady had committed, they decided it was time for a little vigilante justice. Cue the firing squad. But here's where things get freaky. As the bullets pierced Arkady's body, his latent mutant powers kicked in. Instead of dying like a normal person, he survived. It's like he had a mutant get-out-of-death-free card. Of course, the higher-ups in the Soviet government were not about to let such a unique specimen go to waste. They whisked Arkady away to become part of their super soldier program, and that's when the transformation into Omega Red truly began. After undergoing a series of cybernetic enhancements, Omega Red emerged as a walking, tentacled weapon of mass destruction. Those retractable carbonadium tentacles in his arms were not just for show. They could wrap around victims to drain them of their life energy. It's like a deadly hug from hell. But Omega Red's powers didn't stop there. He could emit lethal pheromones, which he fondly referred to as death spores. These spores could kill or incapacitate anyone in his vicinity, depending on factors like endurance and proximity. Think of it as the ultimate party trick, except it's a party you never want to attend. And let's not forget his life force absorption ability. Omega Red could drain the life force of other humans to sustain himself. It's like he had his own personal juice box filled with the life essences of his victims. Now, with all these powers, you'd think Omega Red would be quite the menace on the battlefield, and you'd be absolutely right. He had superhuman strength, durability, agility, and reflexes. The guy was like a one-man army, capable of lifting around 10 tons with ease. But here's the kicker. The more life force he drained, the stronger he became. He was essentially a vampire on steroids. His superhuman abilities were not limited to physical prowess. Omega Red was also a tactical genius. He knew how to fight, plan, and manipulate situations to his advantage. You could say he was the whole supervillain package. One particular item on Omega Red's wish list was the carbonadium synthesizer, a device he needed to stabilize his powers. This little MacGuffin sent him on a wild goose chase after Wolverine, Sabertooth, and Maverick, as they were the only ones who might know its whereabouts. It's like a mutant version of a treasure hunt, complete with deadly consequences. Omega Red's return from hibernation was not exactly a warm welcome. He found himself battling Wolverine and the X-Men, making Berlin look like the setting for a never-ending superhero showdown. He even captured Wolverine and Jubilee, which is never a good idea when you're dealing with mutants. But as all great supervillains do, Omega Red had his share of defeats. Wolverine, Maverick, and the X-Men managed to outsmart him, with Wolverine even hiding the elusive carbonadium synthesizer in Janice's coffin. It's a classic case of villainous frustration. So there you have it. Omega Red, the mutant with a dark past and powers that make him a force to be reckoned with. Whether you call him a supervillain or a misunderstood mutant, one thing is for sure, you'd not want to run into this guy in a dark alley. Namor. King Namor Mackenzie, better known as the Submariner, is the reigning monarch of Atlantis. His origin is an extraordinary tale of a mutant-human hybrid, born to a human father and an Atlantean princess. The name Namor, meaning avenging son, aptly captures his unique heritage and character. During his youth in the ocean depths, Namor was a playful troublemaker, often taunting his cousins and amusing himself with aquatic companions. However, the tides of destiny had grander plans for him. World War II marked his entry into the surface world as he joined forces with the invaders, battling Axis powers alongside iconic heroes such as Captain America and the Human Torch. Yet, Namor's loyalty always remained firmly rooted in Atlantis, and his allegiances fluctuated, aligning with heroes and villains based on the needs of his underwater kingdom. Following World War II, Namor's return to Atlantis was met with banishment and strained relations with his own people. But a true hero cannot remain dormant for long, and he'd resurface when Atlantis needed him most, embarking on adventures both above and below the surface. Namor's powers are as impressive as his turbulent life story. His superhuman strength allows him to lift massive weights with ease, making him a really tough opponent in battle. He possesses the astonishing ability to fly, utilizing unique ankle wings for steering, achieving speeds that rival military aircraft. Amphibious adaptation is his innate trait, enabling survival in extreme underwater conditions and murky depths. Namor's telepathic connection with marine life, akin to Aquaman, allows him to communicate with and command sea creatures, reaffirming his dominion over the ocean. His aquatic healing prowess ensures rapid recovery from injuries, especially when submerged. Furthermore, Namor can manipulate weather patterns without the need for his trusty trident, offering him control over atmospheric conditions. Despite his pretty amazing powers, Namor has his share of weaknesses. Prolonged absence from water weakens him, underscoring his dependence on aquatic environments. Oxygen imbalances, triggered by extended periods in either water or air, can lead to unpredictable mood swings. Namor's past traumatic experiences, particularly during World War II, have left him vulnerable to emotional instability. Dehydration from intense heat and sensitivity to polluted waters are additional concerns for this Sea King.
Hey, guess what?
The Blob. Meet Fred Dukes, affectionately known as the Blob. Although he might not share the same endearment for the nickname, Fred's journey as a mutant began when puberty hit him like a ton of bricks, quite literally. His powers, akin to the gift that keeps on giving, manifested at that awkward age when we're all trying to fit in somewhere. So, what did Fred do? He became a carnival performer, which is just one step away from joining the circus. But hey, we've all got to start somewhere, right? Picture a massive, grumpy guy in a carnival tent doing tricks that involve immovability, like standing around and daring people to move him. Not exactly a showstopper, but it paid the bills. Now, here's where it gets interesting. One fine day, the original X-Men waltz into Fred's carnival world, probably just looking for some cotton candy. They decided to invite him over for a friendly chat, lured by the promise of super-powered antics. Fred, in all his extra strong glory, could not resist the invitation, especially since Jean Grey, a striking member of the X-Men, was part of the deal. They whisked him away to Xavier's mansion, and Professor Charles Xavier kindly offered him a spot on the X-Men team. But Fred wasn't exactly looking to trade his carnival perks for superhero duties, and he declined the offer with an arrogance only rivaled by his appetite. However, Fred was not one to let a good feud go to waste, so he decided to pay a visit to Xavier's mansion again. This time, he had an elaborate plan: to steal the X-Men's fancy gadgets and use them against regular humans. Of course, things didn't go as planned, and he found himself on the receiving end of a not-so-warm welcome from the X-Men. A fight broke out, memories were erased, and Fred's carnival life continued, but with a whole lot more grumbling. Now, let's talk powers. Fred has got some quirky ones up his extra-large sleeves. His main trick involves turning himself into a human boulder. He's virtually immovable when his feet are planted on the ground, thanks to a one-way ticket to gravitational increase town. This means if you ever needed someone to play the role of a living, breathing doorstop, Fred's your guy. His skin, or rather the layers of fat beneath it, is like an impenetrable fortress. Bullets, cannonballs, bazooka rounds, you name it, just bounce right off. It's like his body has been specially designed to reject projectiles. Even a torpedo might as well be just a playful nudge for the Blob. Now, Fred is not just about standing there like a human brick wall. He can also trap things within his squishy exterior. Imagine throwing a baseball into a wall of jello and then trying to get it back. That's what it's like to mess with the Blob. He can also redirect stuff thrown at him, which is useful when he decides it's time to play dodgeball. And if you think you can get him with a clever energy attack or some telekinesis, think again. He's practically pain-proof and doesn't even flinch. But don't let that fool you. He's not invincible. Energy attacks like optic blasts can still cause him a world of hurt. And if you want to see him truly incapacitated, just drop a giant bell on him. That worked once. Plus, if you've got him in a tight spot, a little alcohol might do the trick. But be prepared to provide gallons, not shots. One peculiar thing about Blob is that he relies on something called mutant growth hormone to keep his powers going. It's like his secret sauce, so to speak. Without it, he'd probably just be a really big guy, which wouldn't be nearly as exciting. So, there you have it, the Blob. A mutant with a unique set of powers, penchant for carnival life, and a resistance to just about everything, except a good bell drop or some heavy-duty optic beams. Gentle. Nesor Abidemi, the Wakandan Russian mutant with a name as unique as his powers. He's proof that the X-Men are not just about flashy costumes and dramatic altercations. They've got brains and brawn in equal measure. Born to a Wakandan mother and a Russian father, Nesor had a rough start in life. You see, being a mutant in itself can be a handful, but being a mixed-race mutant in a world that can be judgmental about both can be doubly tough. Even his own mother couldn't quite embrace him fully because of his mixed heritage. The source of his mutant powers? Well, it's his dad's fault, or maybe his blessing, as he's the one who passed on that X gene. Nesor's journey led him to the royal court of Wakanda, where he was raised. But when his mutant powers started to kick in, Queen Aurora Monroe, yes, Storm herself, recommended that he head over to the Xavier Institute for higher learning. You know, that place where mutants go to become less of a menace and more of a superhero, or supervillain, depending on their mood. Now, what makes Nesor unique is his power. He can expand his muscle mass at will, essentially turning into a real-life version of the Hulk, minus the green skin and anger issues. That means he can grow in size and strength in the blink of an eye, making him a force to be reckoned with. You thought bodybuilders were impressive? Try a bodybuilder on steroids, but instead of steroids, it's mutant muscle magic. But wait, there's a catch. Every time he uses his powers, it's like a gym session on steroids, pun intended. His resting strength gradually increases with every muscle-popping feat. Imagine lifting weights, but instead of adding plates to the barbell, your body does it for you. Now, Nesor might seem like the strong, silent type, and that's because he's a pacifist. He's not really into the whole brawling thing, which makes him an odd fit among the X-Men. While his peers were busy trading blows and hurling energy blasts, Nesor was sitting quietly, contemplating life and meditating. But life at the Xavier Institute was not all peaceful meditation sessions. M-Day came along, and while many mutants lost their powers, Nesor was among the lucky few who retained theirs. Emma Frost, the Ice Queen herself, disbanded the training squads and organized an all-out battle among the students. Nesor was exempt because of the nature of his powers, but you can bet he was ready to jump in if needed. Then there was that little limbo adventure. Late one night, the students were treated to a horror story by none other than Blindfold. Little did they know, it was more than just a tale. Limbo happened, demons attacked, and Nesor finally had to flex his mutant muscles, and it hurt, like a lot. But hey, no pain, no gain, right? Fast forward to the Messiah Complex event, where the first mutant since M-Day was born. Sentinels, those pesky mutant-hunting robots, decided to crash the party at the Xavier Institute. Nesor decided he'd had enough of playing the pacifist and went all out, battling Sentinels like they were oversized tin cans. He held his own, but it was not without consequences. He took a beating, but proved that you don't mess with a mutant who can grow his muscles on demand. After some adventures in Wakanda, which included a bit of body possession and a side of murder, not by Nesor of course, he returned to the X-Men with a newfound appreciation for his mutant family. It turns out, the X-Men were the ones who truly accepted him, quirks and all. So, there you have it, Nesor Abidemi, the gentle giant with muscles that can put the Hulk to shame. He might not be the first to throw a punch, but when he does, it's a knockout. Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw, the man who proved that it's not about where you come from, but how you use your mutant powers to climb the social and financial ladder. Born and raised in the steel town of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you'd think Shaw's destiny was sealed to a life of blue-collar labor. But sometimes, destiny has a funny way of manifesting in the most unexpected places. Sebastian's father, Jacob Shaw, had a few secrets up his sleeve, including ties to the enigmatic Mr. Sinister. He was obsessed with restoring the family's fortunes, and it turns out he passed on more than just his genes to Sebastian. But before we dive into Shaw's mutant powers, let's talk origin story. One fateful day, after toasting to his late father at a local watering hole, Sebastian found himself at the mercy of a group of well-to-do bullies who probably had too much time and money on their hands. They couldn't stomach the idea of a working-class guy like Sebastian going to college, so they decided to teach him a lesson. Little did they know, Sebastian had a little trick up his sleeve, or more accurately, in his genes. His mutant powers came to life at that moment. He could absorb kinetic energy, which basically meant that the harder you hit him, the stronger he got. It's like getting mad at the Hulk for smashing things. It's just counterproductive. Fast forward through college, where Shaw proved to be a genius, earning himself a scholarship to the Stevens Institute of Technology. The world suddenly became his oyster. His knack for economics and technology became the building blocks for his empire, and Shaw Industries was born. By the time he hit 30, he was a millionaire, and by 40, a billionaire. Take that, bullies. Now, Shaw isn't just about making money and flaunting his genius. He's also a family man in his own unique way. He even raised a child, Shinobi, as his own, although it turns out the kid was not his biologically. Love knows no bounds, even if it is mixed up in a tangled web of mutant drama. But here's where things get truly fascinating. Shaw waltzed into the world of the Hellfire Club, a secret society his father had been a part of. This club had its claws deep in some shady dealings, and Shaw was drawn to it like a moth to a flame. He quickly climbed the ranks, became friends with the likes of Harry Leyland, and eventually rose to the esteemed position of Black King. Yeah, Shaw became a king, and not just any king, a Black King. However, it wasn't all fancy titles and secret handshakes. Shaw's love life was complicated, to say the least. He fell head over heels for Lord Chantel, even though she wasn't exactly thrilled with his Hellfire Club affiliations. But hey, love conquers all, right? Well, not in this case. Lords tried to sway Sebastian away from the club, fearing it would corrupt him, but she couldn't change his course. When things got even more complicated and Buckman betrayed Shaw, Emma Frost saw an opportunity and decided to take Lord's death to free her from the tangled web of Shaw's life. This led to Shaw killing Buckman and taking over the Hellfire Club as the Black King. Talk about a love triangle gone wrong. But that's not all. Shaw's quest for power didn't stop there. He wanted to dominate the world through force, money, and influence. He had connections in high places, rubbing shoulders with top officials in both corporations and government. Shaw even supported the creation of Sentinels because, well, it's better to be the puppeteer than the puppet, right? So, what about those mutant powers? Shaw has got a nifty trick up his sleeve. He can absorb kinetic energy. That means every punch, bullet, or even a shock of electricity just makes him stronger. It's like a perpetual energy machine in human form. And to add a cherry on top, he can release all that absorbed energy, turning himself into a walking explosion. But of course, no superhero or supervillain in Shaw's case is complete without their weaknesses. Overloading his powers with too much energy can put him out of commission, and immobilizing him without causing kinetic energy buildup can do the trick. Rogue once threw him straight into the atmosphere, and he had to take a rain check on that fight. Plus, his new powers, gained through a secondary mutation, come at a price, aging him in the process. Sebastian Shaw, business tycoon, Black King, and mutant energy sponge. Who said you can't rise from the steel mills of Pittsburgh to the pinnacle of power? It's all about the right mix of brains, brawn, and a little bit of mutant magic. Warpath. Warpath, the Apache powerhouse with a heart as big as his muscles. James Proudstar's journey from a troubled young man to a formidable mutant warrior is as compelling as it is awe-inspiring. It all started on the Apache reservation in Camp Verde, Arizona. James idolized his older brother, John Proudstar, who was a Marine. Their bond was strong, and James looked up to him like a hero. But tragedy struck when their mother revealed that she had cancer. This led to a fateful visit to an amusement park, where James had his fortune told by Destiny. Yep, the same Destiny who could see the future. James, being skeptical, thought she was a fraud. Little did he know, his life was about to take a wild turn. James accompanied John when he infiltrated Arroyo Labs, a clinic running tests on their reservation's people under the guise of cancer treatment. Here's where things got hairy, or should I say, furry. They uncovered the truth. Dr. Edwin Martinek, the head honcho at the clinic, was a mutated werewolf who faked cancer diagnosis to irradiate his patients. Why? To observe the results, of course. You can't make this stuff up. The Proudstar brothers tried to stop Dr. Martinek, but he gave them the slip. And let's be honest, it's hard to catch a werewolf on the run. But this incident marked the beginning of James's transformation into the mighty Warpath. Tragedy struck when John joined the X-Men and was killed on one of their early missions. James didn't take it well. In fact, he blamed the X-Men for his brother's death. His grudge was so deep that he promised to murder the X-Men's founder, Professor Charles Xavier. Now, that's some serious sibling rivalry. But James was not just nursing a grudge, he was also harboring a mutant power of his own. His abilities were similar to his brother's: superhuman strength, speed, stamina, invulnerability, agility, and reflexes. He could lift tons, run at speeds that would make Usain Bolt jealous, and endure like a champ. He was like a one-man army. James ended up joining the Hellions under the White Queen's leadership, where he honed his mutant skills. And he got a front row seat to the X-Men's ongoing drama when they clashed with the Hellions. Let's say it wasn't your typical schoolyard fight, it was more like a mutant melee. But in the end, chaos ensued and the new mutants managed to escape. One day, he even donned his brother's costume and kidnapped the X-Man Banshee to draw the X-Men to Cheyenne Mountain, where John had met his end. The plan was to take vengeance on Professor X, but at the last moment, James couldn't go through with it. Professor X's words convinced him that his brother had died a hero, and he released them. He rejoined the Hellions, eventually becoming their leader. But things were not all bad. During a Hellfire Club event attended by the X-Men, James struck up a connection with Danielle Moonstar. They were like a mutant Romeo and Juliet, except without the tragic ending. Well, almost. There was that time when the New Mutants won a contest to hunt down a forgery scandal in the Hellfire Club, but the details are a bit fuzzy, as contests between mutants tend to be. As time went on, Warpath's powers evolved. His strength increased, and he even gained the power of flight. Imagine a supersized superhero soaring through the skies. It's like having your own Apache Hercules. But Warpath's journey was far from over. His powers continued to fluctuate, and he even developed a regenerative healing factor. He was no longer just a mutant powerhouse. He was a mutant powerhouse with a healing bonus. What makes Warpath even more remarkable is his Apache Shaman abilities, with Ghost Rider activated within him. These powers allowed him to perceive and combat supernatural threats. It's like having your very own spiritual guide to help you navigate the weird and wild world of mutants. So, there you have it, Warpath, the Apache Avenger with a heart of gold and muscles of steel. He's proof that even in a world full of superpowered mutants, there's always room for a hero with a strong sense of justice and an even stronger set of pecs.
Alex, get out! Do it!
Darwin. Darwin. The mutant chameleon, with a twist. He doesn't just adapt to his environment, he rocks the world of evolution itself. Imagine being born different from other kids, with oversized arms, ever-changing eyes, and a bald head that could put Professor X to shame. But that's just a regular Tuesday for Armando. His father must have taken one look at him and decided to skip town, leaving him with a mother who thought her own son was a walking nightmare. Growing up, Armando faced rejection at every corner. His mother despised him for his mutation, but he didn't hate her back. Instead, he tried to earn her love, like a real-life superhero. One day, he had to take an IQ test. Little did he know that the burning desire to impress his mother would subconsciously activate his mutant power. He aced the test, which was his ticket to the prestigious Biltmore Academy for Advanced Education. But, surprise, surprise, his mother still hated him. So, off he went to boarding school. Life at Biltmore wasn't all rainbows and unicorns. Armando's classmates bullied him relentlessly, probably because they were jealous of his jaw-dropping intellect. One day, they decided to dunk his head in the toilet, and that's when things got interesting. As his lungs filled with water, he discovered he could breathe underwater, and that his arms were as tough as cement. Bullies, beware. This guy has got some mean adaptation skills. The real showstopper came when his mother's smoking habit set their house ablaze. Armando, the human fire extinguisher, carried her out like it was just another day at the office. Scientists were baffled, firefighters were astonished, and Armando became a human guinea pig. They even nicknamed him Darwin, the Evolving Boy, after Charles Darwin. He adapted to every test they threw at him. Pitch black room, night vision. Flames, fireproof skin. It was like a mutant version of The Price is Right. But in a cruel twist of fate, his mother continued to reject him, denying that she could ever give birth to such a freak. Heartbroken, Armando decided to take a leap of faith off the roof. Instead of meeting his end, he became as light and soft as a marshmallow. Talk about a soft landing. His encounter with the school psychiatrist led him to Moira McTaggart, who saw potential in this mutant anomaly. And so, Darwin embarked on a new chapter of his life with the X-Men. Darwin's power, my dear viewers, is nothing short of astonishing. He can adapt to any situation. Need to breathe underwater? Done. Stuck in total darkness? Night vision engaged. Surviving in space without oxygen? Piece of cake. His body's like a chameleon, changing to fit its surroundings. It's like having a superpower Swiss Army knife. But here's the kicker. His powers don't always work the way he wants them to. Once, during a brawl with the Hulk, instead of giving him a power to defeat the Green Goliath, his body decided to teleport him away from the battle. Oops. And if that's not enough, he's pretty much immortal. He can endure harsh conditions, survive without sustenance, and even shrugged off Hela's death touch like it was a gentle caress. Not to mention, he spent 200 years in the vault, where time moves faster, and he came out looking like he'd just taken a short nap. But wait, we still have more. Darwin can now trigger mutations to ensure his survival, sometimes affecting those around him. He's like the MacGyver of mutants, improvising superpowers on the fly. Oh, and did I mention he's a death harbinger? Yeah, he can sense when someone's about to kick the bucket. It's like having a sixth sense for the afterlife. So, there you have it, Darwin. The mutant marvel who doesn't just adapt to change, he thrives on it. In a world of mutants, he's the ultimate wild card, keeping everyone, including himself, on their toes. Who needs a plan when you can Darwin your way out of any situation? Marvelous verdict. As our thrilling journey through the world of the 15 most physically dominating and powerful mutants comes to a close, we can't help but marvel at the sheer magnitude of strength and power these extraordinary beings possess. From towering giants to unstoppable juggernauts, these mutants have redefined the limits of physical prowess in the realm of superpowers. But, as we've discovered, it's not just about the muscles and might. Each mutant on our list carries a unique story, a testament to the diversity of experiences in the mutant world. Some use their incredible strength for noble causes, defending the innocent and protecting the world from threats beyond imagination. Others, unfortunately, succumb to the allure of power, leaving destruction in their wake. Throughout our exploration, we've also seen that being physically dominating doesn't exempt these mutants from the challenges and struggles that come with their extraordinary abilities. They face prejudice, isolation, and moral dilemmas that remind us that even the mightiest must grapple with their own humanity. As we bid farewell to these larger-than-life characters, we're left with a sense of awe and wonder at the rich tapestry of the mutant universe. Their stories remind us that true power is not just about the brute strength, but about the choices we make and the impact we have on the world. So, whether you're a mutant enthusiast or just someone who appreciates a good dose of superhuman spectacle, we hope this journey has left you inspired, entertained, and perhaps even a little more aware of the complexities that lie beneath the surface of those who are truly physically powerful. Which of them sparked a fire of intrigue within you? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon, for who knows what astonishing mutants might emerge next to redefine the boundaries of strength and courage in this ever-evolving world.